Hello sa mga kapuso natin dyan sa San Francisco. Balita ko po ay gabi-gabi kayo nanonood ng Startup PH. Kaya maraming salamat po. I'm so sorry hindi ako makaka-join sa inyo ngayon dahil as you can see, nandito po ako sa Verona, Italy. Ciao po, galing sa Italia. Ganun pa man, gusto ko po magpasalamat sa inyo sa pagtutok gabi-gabi. Lalong-lalo na po sa ating Consul General na si Mr. Neil Ferrer from San Francisco, Mr. Canalok, the CEO of Dynamico, and Mr. Joseph Francia, the first Vice President of GMA International. Maraming salamat po sa inyong support and I cannot wait to be with you all in person to thank all of you. Again, maraming salamat and keep watching Startup PH.
Sa ating question and answer segment, okay, Eric, I believe our guests from there have questions for the artists and creative team of Startup PH.
My first question is for Jeric. Jeric, how did you prepare for this role? And coming from a business that's fostering the global Filipino entrepreneur, what can you say about the role that you've partaken and your experiences with that?
Una-una, I am overwhelmed po talaga noong una kong nalaman na ako yung mag-play kasi I've been a fan of K-drama talaga ever since. So napanood ko na po yung Startup before ko pa malaman na ako yung gaganap bilang si Davidson. And then, nung nalaman ko po na ako yung gaganap doon, pinanood ko po ulit siya, ni-review ko, and then pinag-aralan ko po mabuti yung ginawa ng actor from Korea, si Nam Juyuk, and then pinag-isipan ko po mabuti kung paano ko atakin bilang si Jeric Gonzales. And with the guide of my directors, my co-actors, ayun po, nagawa ko po ng maayos yung role ko as Davidson.
It really hits home when a Filipino startup is becoming successful, and for us to see how that Filipino attitude comes into play into this movie or into the startup business.
This is for Direct Dominic and Jerry, and I guess Grina Ren, she's the writer. So more or less the creative team. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey of doing a Filipino adaptation of a hit drama? Right, there must have been some pressures because they were inevitably comparisons. And you make it uniquely Filipino.
I found it really very challenging because for one, this is my first time to do an adaptation. So the first thing that came to my mind was, paano namin masasatisfy yung mga solid viewers of the original version, and how can we attract yung mga new viewers? So it's kombinasyon ng dalawa. Hindi medyo nung una kinabahan ako, sabi ko, paano ba ginagawa yun? Number one. Number two, we have two sets of producers na mag-approve ng project namin, the Korean producers and the GMA producers. Tapos like what I said, first time ko to do an adaptation. So I had to learn the process, hindi ko the do's and the don'ts and the ganyan. It was challenging, but it was very rewarding and fulfilling.
First of all, I think the journey begins with understanding first what exactly you're doing. What made it a hit? What made you fall in love? I think really when it was first the process of if I didn't get to watch Startup, which I did, the original, I fell in love with that. Tapos, I had to fall in love with another material, yung sinulat nila Glay. And then finding why I fell in love, finding out why I fell in love, and capturing the essence of both, of the new one and of the old one. How I'll be able to carry over the charm. What was it essentially that made me fall in love with the original material? I believe I don't pretend to be a savant in making adaptations, but I think that's how you make a successful adaptation, is to find really the essence of the original and be able to employ that into your adapted material. So it was a journey of falling in love with the original material, and then falling in love with the new material, and then falling in love with the characters that we had because we adapted them to a Filipino setting. And how does that work when you do something, an adaptation, and you adapt it to a Filipino setting? you also have to have fallen in love with your own culture to understand what you want to be able to portray and to be able to. Kasi for those of you who are not privy, no, when the Korean producers kasi when they said yes, they wanted to have a kind of control over it, no. Of course, sila may-ari ng what we call IP, or the intellectual property. So we want to make sure that we did not bastardize their material. At the same time, we had to employ our culture. And then, siyempre, naiintindihan namin nila Glayon primarily. Kaibahan natin sa mga Koreans is we're very family-oriented. So we had to make sure that our version was more deeply rooted in familial concerns, magkakapatid, ganon, mas malalim yung atin. In fact, I feel like ours is more compelling because it's more relatable, and ours, it's also more human. This whole startup, this whole tech thing is merely a backdrop. Everything else is really galing sa puso. Siyempre, kasi kapuso. And collaborating with Direk Jerry was such a joy. I learned a lot from him. Alam niyo naman po yan, actors director, that's what I've always been working on for the past decade. I used to just love visuals and all. Pero I continue to learn. I am a student of life and of this craft. So it was a very enjoyable journey.
Paano yung naging paggawa nung material? Ay, gaano kahaba yung naging process? Siguro si Glay muna. Go ahead, Glay.
Yung process to, mahaba po talaga siya. We actually started late last year. Nakikipag-meeting na po kami sa Korean producers, and we had to have a sort of an outline because we already told them that we had to inject our Filipino values, because in making an adaptation, we don't just copy paste their scripts and then gagayahin lang. No, we have to make sure, because we have our own culture, we have our own values, we have our own sensibilities, so we have to inject it on that. And as much as we love Startup with all its iconic scenes and dialogues, of course we want to make something that is ours. Yung may Filipino pride tayong ilalagay doon sa ating proyekto. So at first po, we had to quickly come up with an outline of like what we wanted to do, what we wanted to add, and have it approved by the Koreans. And I'm very grateful kasi usually po they do not allow such yung masyadong baguhin yung material, but because they've been generous with us, the writer as well, na parang inallow niya na okay, you can make these changes, and pinagtiwalaan nila tayo na we will stay true and faithful to the core material, but we will have to have our own twist on it. Ganon po, yun. It was a long, but it was a very, very fulfilling process, especially because at first I am a fan of Startup muna. And then this project was given, parang feeling ko, it was our chance to show something so beautiful from a Filipino perspective naman. So, yun po.
Ayun na nga, Miss Cathy. So, ang haba ng process, so very close ka na sa Korean counterparts mo.
Yes.
So, I mean, may mga naging disagreement ba kayo? I'm sure kasi may mga kailangan kayong i-tweak to make it, kumbaga parang mai-adapt natin syempre sa ating culture. Ayan. Paano ang inyong naging process with your Korean counterparts?
Before I answer that question, I forgot to say good morning to Sir Joseph. Hi, Sir Joseph.
Good morning, Cathy. Thanks.
Pa-schedule na po ng trip ng Startup. Anyway, ang nasabi na halos lahat si Glay. Sa part ko as the producer, tama, Miss Tony, nagkaroon kami ng bonding. Ako ng bonding with the Korean producers. So, kasi we cannot change without their approval. So, from the characters, the story, the twist, as Glay mentioned, ano na sila, textmate, kumbaga. Textmate ko sila. Before, I only send emails, pero para ang bagal nung proseso. So, finally, I got the number. So, but I cannot even pronounce the name of the producer. But it's parang nagkaroon na ng personal connection na parang I hope you can visit here in Korea, mga ganyan-ganyan na. So, in your next project, mga ganyan, di ba? Pumapalakpak si Glay, if not for pandemic daw, sila ang pupunta dito. Madali silang kausap ni Tony. Minsan lang parang na-explain ko ba ng para maintindihan nila, 'di ba? Kasi meron tayong ibang presentation of language like yung
At language barrier, oo, at may mga
doon minsan sabi ko baka ang daming beses ko siya binabasa kasi para baka mamaya hindi maintindihan. Then finally nagtatawagan na kami. Parang 'di ba? So ang ganda nung nangyari kasi nga nakita nila yung intention of the team kung bakit kailangang i-adjust yung mga, at lahat na-approve, no, Glay? Halos lahat naman ng hiningi natin, na-approve nila. Yun. Then after the first naman, the first 2 episodes, yun lang naman yung pinanood. Then after airing na yung iba. Doon lang sila and of course, nalaman mo naman, Miss Tony, that we received this commendation from the executive producer because of the quality of our program. So
we have friends from Plentina and PhilDev. This question is for Kevin Gabayan of Plentina and Jonesy Castro with PhilDev. Hello, and I understand you have startup businesses, no? So based on what you've seen, what you've watched so far, which character do you relate the most? Or meron bang mga scenes you have seen there that you can relate to? Let's start with Kevin.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me, and love this event and everything that the show is doing for the startup community as well. Just making it so tangible for the community to see themselves succeeding in entrepreneurship. And I got a real kick out of the scene where the entrepreneur is asking questions about machine learning and neural nets, and then the expert is explaining that neural nets is like Tarzan learning to woo Jane. And I've never seen neural nets be described that in such an accessible way to people, or people in the Philippines especially. And so it just makes it that much more accessible and easier for people to get excited, especially when told by the story of very exciting, young, cool, smart, beautiful people on television that makes people inspired to see that for themselves. So excited about the story you guys are telling.
Thanks, Kevin. How about Jonesy?
I agree with very much with Kevin on being very excited about seeing the representation of not just entrepreneurs and startups, but the Filipino community in that space. So my question is actually, I had a different question, or maybe if there's time I can ask both, but this might be more towards the production and directors. But knowing that this is kind of an adaptation of the K-drama, I'm wondering how or if there are plans for Startup PH to kind of breach a wider network. You know how Startup PH is on Netflix or on, more kind of visible in the US to a larger community, how we can increase that representation of Startup PH and just the great, productions and shows and things that we're doing as Filipinos.
From what I know, first time we were trying to negotiate to be able to produce a Philippine version of Startup, I thought the deal wasn't going to fall through. Was going to fall through because the Korean producers wanted that after we produce it, they will be the ones marketing it afterwards. I mean, marketing it outside of the Philippines. We thought that was a deal breaker. And I remember Miss Annette Gozan Valdez, who's, we call her COO, child of owner. She's the daughter of Mr. Gozan. She said, no, that's not a deal breaker. In fact, it's something that I like because it means that the Korean producers feel confident about our material, and they feel like they want to attach their names directly to what we were going to produce. So from the way it looks, they're going to be peddling this all over the world and doing the marketing for us. So that might be good for the country, and ultimately for businesses, because it lends credibility to the kind of stuff that we can produce. So I guess also for startups, for other startups, it tells a lot about the Philippines, because typically what we see about the Philippines when you're abroad, like news has always got to be bad news, right? So so they don't see the upside to investing in the Philippines. But if we're able to market it that way, it'll be good not only for our country but also our kababayans who are starting businesses and trying to represent the culture. I hope I answered your question, Jonathan.
We'll go to Earl Valencia of Plentina. I think he has a question. Also, go ahead, Earl.
Definitely. And well, first of all, thank you for doing this adaptation. I think most of us who is in the Philippine startup ecosystem have waited for this day, which is how to really make the startup journey more accessible to everyone in the rest of the Philippines. And I could relate a lot in this notion of hackathons and pitching, because Kevin and I, when we started Plantina, we really had to find mentors and do this whole journey. It's not easy, and even just getting our first investor was always like a hard thing. So maybe that relates to my question to the actors, which I put into the chat. Is there's so much ups and downs that is in the drama. What do you think is the biggest challenge that the characters faced in starting a business, that you feel that the audience of the drama would relate to the most? Because, for example, Kevin and I had probably every other month, we always think that there's a near-death experience of the business, but at least I'd love to hear it from the actors of how that got going.
I think about my character with Davidson, I see that dun siya na-challenge sa first times talaga, yung mga first time nila dito sa businesses, because they're smart and intelligent engineers, programmers, pero hindi nila alam kung paano mag-start ng business. Hindi nila alam kung sino yung mag-guide sa kanila. So ang daming first time sa kanila nung pagpasok nila sa business, and then kung paano mag-start, and then pagpasok nila sa sandbox. Actually, nangangapa sila. So, they need a guide. So, ayun nga, dumating si Danny, their CEO na mag-guide sa kanila. So, they need someone talaga to use their talent. You need people talaga to surround you and to guide you to what to do, and really do what you want in the business.
Sa character ni Ina, I think yung kaya rin siya nag-start up ng sarili niyang business, lumayo siya sa daddy niya kasi naging CEO siya ng morning group na walang company shares. So yun yung downfall ng character niya. Mas mabigat pa rin talaga yung may mga company shares compare sa CEO ka lang. So yun yung pagkakamali niya. And siguro ang hirap din na hindi pa siya masyadong nakapag-research about ginawa niya. Kasi dapat una pa lang, bago siya po sumabak dun sa isang company ng stepdad niya, alam niya na dapat sana nakapag-research pa siya, nakapag-aral pa siya ng mga kailangan niya doon at kumuha siya ng company shares. Sa akin naman, when I had my business before, though it's a small business, I think nagkaroon din ako ng kulang sa knowledge. I think nagkulang ako sa research when it comes to that business. Parang naisip ko lang, gusto ko lang magkaroon ng business, pero hindi ko alam na mahirap pala kapag nawalan ka ng tao. Hindi mo alam kung paano siya gagawin. So, I think doon nakaka-relate yung ako mismo sa character ko na kapag hindi mo na research maayos ang business mo, yung pinapasukan mo, walang pupuntahan yan, walang patutunguhan. I think kailangan mo talagang bago ka pumasok, make sure na alam mo ang pinapasok mo?
I think since I played Tristan Hernandez, medyo andun kasi siya sa side ng investor. He funds startups sa story. But moreover, I think it's really yung challenge for him is really making decisions out of emotions. Kasi of course we're in the business and sobrang laking factor ng emotion when it comes to decisions. So how are you going to be able to make a decision na hindi siya bias ng emotion or your current state of emotionality at that moment? Kasi sometimes it gets in the way, yung emotions, when you make decisions based on emotions, whether you're on the height of a positive emotion or you're on the height of a negative emotion, yun yung challenge. How are you gonna balance that? How are you gonna manage that? And how will you deal with people, especially if you're an investor? How will you reject someone who has a dream? Personally, yun yung hindi ko masyadong gusto sa character ko. Kasi if ako yun, I will always deal with it in a different way. But si Tristan kasi medyo straightforward siya. If he sees, pag may mga nakikita siyang loopholes about the pitches and ideas na binibigay sa kanya, he immediately rejects it. As opposed to kung ako yung investor and then I see a potential in the idea of that certain person, baka I would help him build the idea even more, make the foundation even more solid, para when he presents it to me again or to other investors, mas madaling makakuha ng yes. Kasi that's the struggle of startups right now, is getting funding, is having a solid idea and answering the question, is it gonna solve a problem? That's I think one of the key principles of having a startup is to have an answer to, is it gonna improve the quality of life that we have? So yun yung challenges, yung emotionality, yung kasi hindi naman mawawala yun in every aspects of life, especially sa business, is yung decision making based on emotions. Yun yung medyo struggle sa character ni Tristan yan.
Okay, thank you, Alden, and first Jeric and Yasmien, and to Earl and Kevin and Jonesy. Let's get back to Dynamico for the other questions. Eric?
At this point, Sandbox has really given the Dynamico team some inspiration, because we're able to see how the Filipino is looking at startups and how they branch out, what the attitude is, what the temperature is. And here at Dynamico, we foster innovation and technology, and we want to bridge the gap for the Philippine startup ecosystem and the Silicon Valley investors and mentors. So just imagine Filipino startups having the opportunity to be trained and mentored by someone who's already done it. We're teeing it up for them with 3 ways: with space, innovation, with space, a mentorship program, and the community. Now, the brains behind it all, and I'd like to really hear from him, is the CEO of Dynamico, and I welcome Jeric Gonzales.
My question is for Direct Jerry. I don't know, Direct, if you'll remember, I had a small part in your movie, Flames, about 20 years ago.
Yes, JR.
Hey, Direct. Right, so it's good to see you. It's good to see you. So if you could talk to yourself from 20 years ago, or if you could give yourself advice from 20 years ago, what would that be? Especially an entrepreneurial advice to yourself 20 years ago.
Actually, one of my biggest regrets in life is I never went into business. I relied on my profession. So yung mga kasabay ko na mga nagnegosyo, ang yayaman na ngayon, ang ganyan. I had no knowledge, totally na walang business acumen yung family ko sa business. Wala. Sa buong family, no one ventured into business. Lahat kami sa profession umasa. And sabi ko siguro if I went into business 20 years ago or 15 years ago, baka mayaman na ako ngayon, baka I can take it easy, I can relax na. So yun ang ngayon pag may nakakausap ko mga young, mga fresh grads, mga young professionals, ini-encourage ko sila, It's really good to focus on your profession, pero sana mag-isip din kayo ng negosyo. Yan talaga yung biggest regret ko, JR, in life. Hindi ako nagnegosyo talaga. sayang. Sana pwede pa ngayon. Oh, it's never too late. Malay natin. JR, how are you? Sorry, on a personal note. Kumusta ka na? My God, I miss you. Tagal.
Oh, I know. It's been too long. We'll come visit. I'll come visit for sure.
You're still looking good. Nagchikaan daw kami, Miss Tony. Sorry. Another good thing about going into business, you can help other people eh. Ako yung isa sa pinanghinayangan ko, sana nakakatulong ako, nakakapagbigay ako ng trabaho, kahit sabihin mo ng 30 lang ang kailangan ko sa negosyo ko, 30 people pa rin yung natutulungan ko sana. Yun lang po.
Again, please invite everyone to watch and support Startup PH.
Unang-una mga kapuso, gusto kong pasalamat sa lahat ng nanonood at sumusuporta sa Startup PH from Philippines and all over the world, lalo na dyan sa abroad, sa San Francisco, sa lahat ng mga kapuso natin dyan. Maraming salamat. And sana po, huwag kayong bumitaw dahil paganda na ng paganda yung kwento ng Startup PH. So maraming salamat mga kapuso.
Hello mga kapuso, maraming salamat sa pagsuporta sa aming show, ang Startup PH. Ayun, sana po patuloy po kayo manood.
Napapanood naman niyo po ang tuloy-tuloy na episodes ng Startup PH from Monday to Friday po yan sa GMA Pinoy TV. And we thank you for your support. Thank you so much po to GMA Pinoy TV, Sir Joseph. Thank you for doing this event for the show. And I hope this won't be the last kasi I strongly believe in the material. This is really something to look forward to, especially when you want to start up your own business and when you want to, be in the business industry, especially when it comes to tech or not, hindi naman tech related, but this is a guide for a lot of Filipinos na gustong magtayo ng sariling business. And it's never too late. Naniniwala po ako, Direk Jerry. It's never too late to start your own business. There's this guy, hindi ko po kasi pwedeng banggitin yung fast food chain niya kasi kalaban po nung current na endorsement ko. Pero Direk, ma-research mo to. Manok, parang manok yung fast food business niya. And he started at 64. And became successful at 70 plus age. So it's never too late, Direk. Malay mo, Direk, ikaw yung mag-start ng something na, different. Kasi all ideas are valid when it comes to business eh. It's walang maling idea. It's really a matter of saan mo siya gustong dalhin. And again, is it gonna solve a problem? Is it gonna improve quality of life? And is it profitable? That's the top 3 questions for me when it comes to starting up your own business. So yun po, thank you so much for supporting Startup PH, mga kapuso natin dyan sa San Francisco. And we'll see you soon. Merry Christmas po. Advance Merry Christmas.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you, Direk Jerry Sineneng. Thank you. Direk Dominic Zapata. Congratulations po sa inyo. And the show's head writer, Glay. Congrats, Glay. Thank you. Executive producer, Mona.
Maraming pong salamat.
And Miss Cathy Ochoa Perez, program manager na po. COP, wag ka magsasawa ha. Thank you so much for your support po. I hope we all have our takeaways from the Startup PH episodes and exchange of ideas. Once again, thank you very much to all the attendees, Philippine Consulate in San Francisco, and Dynamico Space. Thank you, Eric and JR.
Thank you very much, Tony. Thank you for the wonderful night. Thank you.
So again, just congratulations to everybody. Thank you for the Philippine Consulate, Department of Trade and Industry for being here. Thank you to the production team. You guys have done an awesome job. And of course, to the artists, you guys look amazing and are super talented. Please let us know how we can support Startup PH here in Silicon Valley. That's our goal, is to be able to support Philippine startups here in the Bay. And so when I run marathons and I do triathlons, and a lot of times when you do runs, a lot of you guys are athletes, so you hit a wall, right? You hit a wall when you're doing a marathon. And so my mantra is a little bit, I tell myself, there is no wall, there is no wall, there is no wall. So when you're running a marathon, you're about to hit that wall. If you tell yourself there is no wall enough times, you kind of break through that wall. Startup PH, I think, will inspire a lot of startups in the Philippines to break through the walls that are there, and to believe that there's no walls for the Filipino American and the Filipino. So we're truly global for being global entrepreneurs that we are. So thank you so much. We're excited to be a part of this, and we're looking forward to future collaborations. Thank you.
Watch more of Startup PH by subscribing to GMA Pinoy TV. We are available in the Bay Area through Xfinity, DirecTV, and Dish. Just visit gmapinoytv.com and follow us on social media at GMA Pinoy TV to know more. Until our next GMA Pinoy TV event, patuloy po kaming buong pusong maglilingkod sa inyo mga kapuso at sama-sama tayong maging proud to be Pinoy, proud to be Kapuso, because we are stronger together. This is your Kapuso, Tony Pua. Have a good day and stay safe, everyone. And for our Zoom participants, thank you po sa inyong lahat. This Zoom session will close in 1 minute. Thank you very much for attending and have a great day.